Hey guys, what's up? It's Ellie here. At this year's Bethesda E3 conference, game director Dinga Bakova and art director Sebastian Mitton got up on stage representing Arcane Studios' Leon and announced their new IP Deathloop with a CGI trailer. Deathloop so far is described as an action-based, first-person game with a mind-bending story, meticulously designed levels, and an immersive gameplay experience that allows the player to approach every situation the way that they like.
This place isn't a paradise. It's a prison. Out here, we're trapped.
We're free.
The story so far seems to revolve around the rivalry between two characters, Colt the Captain and Juliana Jules Blake, two deadly assassins who are caught in a seemingly eternal struggle, fighting for the things that they believe in. Colt hunting down targets all over the island, attempting to end the infinite loop of life that curses the lawless and frozen island of Black Reef, and Jules attempting to defend the freedom that the loop allows her and others. But what else do we really know about this game? And what do we think about it so far? Before we get into this, I've recently done an E3 reveal analysis where we look at each frame of the Deathloop CGI trailer. Feel free to check that out as well. Every year I look forward to seeing Bethesda's E3 conference, and like other fans of the company, I get super excited to see Todd Howard or Pete Hines on the stage discussing Fallout or the Elder Scrolls. However, there is a special place in my heart for when Arcane Studios presents on the BE3 stage. Quite honestly, I wasn't expecting anything this year. The main story arc of Dishonored was closed, and it wasn't likely that we were going to see another installment soon. And although I did speculate about a new IP, I was surprised, and quite pleasantly, to see them on the stage announcing it this year. Deathloop. Obviously, we all have some pretty big questions about the game. One big question revolves around whether the game is co-op or multiplayer. In order to consider all the possibilities, let's have a look at Arcane's past. Way before the concept of Deathloop, and before Dishonored, was a different game from Arcane Studios. The Crossing was a first-person shooter developed by Arcane Studios and powered by Valve's Source engine, which attempted to fuse the models of a single-player and multiplayer game. Players playing multiplayer could join in on a single-player game and take the position of characters which would otherwise be an NPC controlled by AI, or a person could play through the single-player campaign with the chance of being confronted by these characters controlled by an actual other player trying to interrupt their story. Arcane dubbed this as a cross-player game. The Crossing was unfortunately put on hold in May 2009 due to financial difficulties, but when Arcane was purchased by Bethesda's parent company ZeniMax in 2010, a trademark was filed that is still being held almost 10 years on. The game's narrative involved the player playing between two parallel universes, two vastly different versions of modern-day Paris. One where Paris had fallen into chaos following the collapse of the government, and one where the Knights Templar had seized control of France back in 1307, a royal utopia. Raphael Colantonio and Victor Antonov, the two leads of The Crossing, actually had an interview with Polygon about it all in 2018, and I particularly noted these quotes. Basically, you wake up one morning and everything goes to shit. The gates open. It started in Paris with the invasion of some sort of futuristic Templar knights that were badass with hooks. They could fly around. Your goal was to understand what was going on, and you would realize little by little that there was this gate. You would find the gate, and then you would go inside and go to the other world and keep going until you realize what truly happened. Eventually, by the end of the game, the two worlds would become one, bringing the disparate parts into one incestuous alternate reality Paris. And what does this totally sound like? It sounds like Dishonored. Spoiler alert if you haven't played Dishonored, by the way. Basically, Corvo Attano, the royal protector of Empress Jessamine and her daughter Emily, nothing more, of course, returns to Dunwall after being away for a while, and, well, everything goes to shit thanks to badass whaler assassins that have fancy gadgets and blink around. Corvo soon wakes up after his escape to find himself in somewhat of a parallel or alternate dimension, and his world is literally turned upside down as he views the world he lives in from a whole other perspective. Slowly learning the truth of what happened to him, Jessamine and Emily, visiting this world more and learning more as the game progresses. We also see a lot of this alternate dimension known as the Void, and actually experience time travel in Dishonored 2. And what we newly experienced in Dishonored 2 was the ability to choose who we play and whose perspective we follow. But what does this have to do with Deathloop? Well, I believe that though we may not ever see the crossing, we are likely to see this treasured game inspire and influence future games that Arcane Studios releases, like Dishonored, and like Deathloop. Is Deathloop multiplayer? Who knows? Is it co-op? We just don't know that yet. But what we do know is that there is quite the possibility that when game director Tinker Bakabar said that this game is different from anything they've done before, that it may mean we could see the possibility of either of these options. My personal opinion on the matter is that there are two main possibilities here. One, we are likely looking at a single player game where the player gets to choose which side they're on, similar to Dishonored 2 in which the player chooses either Emily or Corvo, and different in the way that choosing either Colt or Jules would mean experiencing the story from a completely different side. However, with what we know, perhaps Deathloop is a co-op experience, two players claiming each side of the narrative and fighting against each other. With their own unique set of supernatural powers and preferred weapons, battle it out in an immersive world that really pits the players against each other whilst incorporating the narrative detail Arcane fans love in their games. I don't know much about Deathloop for sure, but I have full confidence in Arcane Studios. And for those who are skeptical about a possible multiplayer or co-op experience from them, should really consider the fact that The Crossing is a game that was being developed 10 years ago, which means a decade of possible testing and experimenting with this online element that may or may not be implemented into Deathloop. Either way, I am excited to hear what's next from them, and will be keeping an eye out for the next announcement.
Plus, I think it's really fucking cool!
Thank you guys so much for watching, like the video if you enjoyed, and let's discuss Deathloop in the comments below. I'll see you next time, bye!